Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's lawyer slash fixer, knows a thing or two about breaking the law. After all, this was a guy who was sentenced to 3 years in prison because he just wanted to keep up with the Joneses and basically have this very lavish lifestyle that he funded not quite legally. Now, here's the thing. Michael Cohen this week, because he is not in prison right now due to COVID, not everybody, obviously, but a lot of people on nonviolent offenses have been let go on early release, on house arrest, whatever it is, because COVID is horrible in prisons, and we're doing virtually nothing to stop the spread. So anyway, Cohen's out of jail at the moment. And he did an interview with MSNBC earlier this week where he talked about the fact that Donald Trump's pardons could actually end up hurting him legally. Now, this is not the same argument that Lawrence Tribe, Harvard law professor, discussed earlier this week. Tribe had said that Trump could actually be prosecuted for the pardons themselves because they could possibly be seen as obstruction of justice, even though proving the intent on that, as I had talked about, is virtually impossible. We all know it exists. You can't prove it, though. Cohen, on the other hand, takes a different approach. Cohen, who, in spite of his, criminal conviction, is in fact a lawyer, understands that many years ago, over 100 years ago, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the acceptance of a presidential pardon is in fact an admission of guilt. Because it is an admission of guilt, you are no longer protected under the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. As such, Michael Cohen explained, if Trump does get prosecuted for some of the crimes he is alleged to have committed, these individuals could be forced, they could be compelled to testify against the president because they have already admitted guilt and would no longer be protected by the Fifth Amendment, the self-implication there. That's a big deal. Or maybe not. I hate to always have to be the bearer of bad news about these things with legality of what Trump may or may not have done, but here's the problem with this scenario. This would rely on the Biden administration actively pursuing criminal charges against Donald Trump, because the people he is pardoning are not people who were involved with any of the alleged criminal activity up in New York State. These are people who were involved with the Russia investigation and things of that nature, obstruction of justice type things. So, if Biden's DOJ does not decide to go after Trump for those specific crimes, these pardons are not going to come back into play, and you're not going to be able to compel these people to testify anything because they're not involved in the other investigations that we know of. And even if they were, they weren't pardoned for anything related to those investigations, so they would still be protected under the Fifth Amendment. Now, the other part of this is that those crimes, alleged crimes, that Joe Biden could, or his administration could investigate Trump for, are still things that Trump could end up pardoning himself for. At which point, none of this matters, because he would have been pardoned. Sure, it's an admission of guilt, but it's over. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that if you're wanting Donald Trump to go to jail, if you're wanting him to actually be prosecuted, don't put any stock into the pardons coming back to bite him. Don't put any stock into Biden's DOJ going after him. He's made it clear he doesn't want to do that. But do have faith in that New York Attorney General Letitia James. She knows what she's doing, and she's damn good at it too.